I am a marketing manager for a company. I have a beautiful family, a husband who supports my career, and a lovely 5-year-old daughter. During the previous period, I had been busy with important projects for my company and often worked late into the night. I sacrificed my rest time in order to complete the task. In 1999, I fainted at home because of cerebral thrombosis. At noon that day, I felt a little dizzy. I thought it was only due to a brief period of fatigue. However, when I stood up to go to the bathroom, my vision began to blur. I tried to call my husband, but found that my fingers became too weak to press the numbers on the phone. With all the strength I could muster, I called the emergency number. I was unable to clearly state my symptoms, but I did my best to express my plight. I felt increasingly disoriented, but I desperately tried to stay awake. When the ambulance arrived, the medical staff quickly transferred me to a stretcher. The nurses checked my vitals and watched the data on the heart rate and blood pressure monitors to make sure I was receiving the best possible care in the vehicle. I could feel a faint vibration as the vehicle started, followed by the ambulance starting to move quickly across the road. The faint smell of antiseptic drops permeated the interior of the ambulance, which gave me an inexplicable sense of reassurance, knowing that I would receive timely care. The ambulance soon arrived at the hospital and I was brought into a room. The doctors noticed that my heartbeat was unusually slow and erratic. They quickly connected an EKG monitor. At that critical moment, my heart suddenly stopped beating. The room fell into silence and I could feel the tension pervade the room. The doctor immediately shouted, "Perform CPR." The doctor kept applying chest compressions on me. Suddenly, my body jerked violently. At this moment, it was as if time stood still. As my body jerked, I felt a strong force pulling me upward. I felt like my soul was leaving my body. Everything around me began to fade into color. As if I had entered a world of calm and emptiness. I surveyed my body as the doctors were applying chest compressions to me. The nurses anxiously passed around their tools, seemingly unaware that I had left. In this supernatural state, I felt a sense of peace. It was as if a great suction was pulling me upward, and I began to leave the Earth's gravitational range. The process was so rapid that I felt like a shooting star traveling through space, leaving a shining trajectory behind me. I realized that I was dead. Instead of fear or pain, I felt a sense of relief. I was no longer bound by my physical body, my soul was flying freely through the universe. My speed gradually slowed down, and I felt I was about to arrive at a specific place. Suddenly, I saw 6 souls ahead of me. 5 of them were male and 1 was female. Although I didn't know them, I could feel their friendliness and kindness. Their presence made me feel warm, as if I had established a special connection with them. They smiled at me with warmth in their eyes. I felt their pure energy, as if they were messengers coming to greet me, waiting for me at this particular spot. They stood together in silence, each soul radiating a unique light and energy. Even though we had never met, I could feel the tacit understanding between them. Their presence gave me comfort, and I knew that I was no longer alone in this particular location. The communication between us did not depend on words. We communicate in a much more efficient and precise way, a flawless way of communication. This type of communication is not limited by words and can directly convey thoughts and feelings. When we are close to each other, our souls intertwine and information is transmitted in a pure and direct form. I could communicate with 6 other souls at the same time, as if there was no time or space between us. Each was able to fully understand the other. We did not need cumbersome verbal expressions, thoughts and emotions were transmitted to each other in a pure way. In the course of our communication, I noticed that they seemed to have some differences. One of the men believed that I should be sent back to Earth because my time had not yet come. The woman, however, held a different view and felt that my own choice should be respected. After a few moments of silence, the woman turned to me and gently asked, "Would you like to come home with us or return to Earth and continue your life?" Her question made me feel very puzzled. Curiously, I asked her, "Do I have another home besides my home on Earth?" The woman replied, "Yes, you have a special home, a home that belongs to your soul. It exists in a realm beyond reality. That home is the harbor of your soul, it is a source of love, a place free from bondage and suffering." I replied, "I'm not so sure, I'd love to know about my other home. Can I go there and see it?" She nodded and then said, "Your choice will be yours to make. We respect your decision, and whether you choose to return to Earth or come home with us, your soul will find its way back." The woman smiled and held out her arm to indicate that I should follow them. The other 5 men also cast warm glances at me. They led me, away from my previous surroundings. Our speed began to pick up, and the scene around us changed rapidly as if in a dream. I felt like I was traveling through space at a speed beyond my imagination. Soon, we arrived at another place, my other home. Here, the air was filled with the sweet scent of flowers. The sky was like a beautiful painting. The sun shone throughout the space, warm and soft. Here, time seems to be frozen, there is no bondage, only eternal tranquility. The lake is like a mirror, and the fish swim freely in the water. Beside the lake is a soft white sandy beach, the delicate grains of sand gently glide over the toes, giving a warm and comfortable touch. People and animals live together peacefully, without fear or harm to each other. Birds chirp in the branches of trees, and small animals run happily on the grass. Suddenly, a dazzling bright light appeared in front of me. In that bright light, a figure gradually emerged, wearing a white robe. The fabric of the robe looked very soft, as if it was woven by white clouds. The collar and cuffs of the robe were embellished with delicate embroidery. These embroideries shine with a faint light, like stars dotting the night sky. A thin white ribbon was tied around his waist. His hand gently rested on my right shoulder. The moment it touched me, his face began to gradually become clear. He had long, thick brown hair and bright, warm eyes. I could feel the love and care he conveyed to me, a love that was unconditional. He looked at me, and his voice was very gentle. "Son, you came here to find the answer to your heart. Now, it's time to make a choice. Do you want to go back to Earth and continue your life, or do you want to stay here?" I gazed into his eyes, and felt his love and care. It was as if a force inside me was guiding me. I took a deep breath and answered firmly, "Here, I feel endless harmony and peace. I would love to stay here, but I know that I can't leave my children just yet. I want to return to Earth, to my family." He smiled and nodded, his eyes revealing joy and encouragement. "You have made a wise choice, my son. Your child needs your company and love." He went on to say that after returning to Earth, my love will always be with you. He understood my responsibility and concern, but also encouraged me to face the challenges and difficulties on Earth. He placed his hand on my head, and a warm energy entered my whole body, giving me great strength and courage. "Take my blessings and go back, child." As I prepared to leave, he gently held my hand and said, "Wherever you go, you will never be alone." I smiled and nodded my head. His silhouette gradually blurred, and his love and encouragement will forever remain in my heart. I look back at this home with gratitude and hope in my heart. I knew that I would be with them again in the near future. When I opened my eyes again, my husband held my hand tightly, his face full of worry. Beside him was my lovely daughter. "Mom, you're awake." Her voice was full of joy as she reached out and caressed my cheek. Her care and companionship made me feel overwhelmed with happiness. My husband hugged me tightly and said, "Honey, do you know how worried we were about you?" I gently patted his back. My daughter's voice was choked with sobs. "Mom, I thought I'd never see you again. I was so afraid of losing you." I hugged her tightly and wiped away her tears. "Mom, we have a surprise for you," my daughter said excitedly. I looked at her curiously, and she took out a handmade greeting card and handed it to me. On the card was a picture of our family. On the 5th day after returning home, my husband was watching a documentary about Jesus. Experts had recreated the image of Jesus based on the marks on the shroud. I was amazed by the scene. Suddenly, tears flowed unconsciously from my eyes. I tried to control my emotions. Since I left the hospital, my emotions had been unstable and I often cried over little things. Every time I tried to tell my husband what I was going through, it was as if some invisible force covered my mouth. Now I am the only one who knows what I went through. My heart had stopped beating in the hospital. My soul was taken to heaven. It was a beautiful and peaceful place. The man in the white robe was Jesus. He looked almost exactly like the image on TV. Jesus sensed the despair and sadness I was experiencing in leaving my husband, and he comforted me. He also honored my choice. He made me understand that love is the bond that connects us whether we choose to return to earth or stay in heaven. However, returning to earth is not as easy as leaving it. I went through a period of pain, both physically and emotionally. Sometimes, I would wonder if I had made the right choice. Whenever I was confused, I would remember Jesus' teachings and encouragement to me. I know that I chose to return in order to be with the people I love and to fulfill my responsibility and mission. I know that no matter how difficult the road ahead is, I will cherish every moment with my family.